Welcome to another episode of Bridge to October. My name is Adrian D'Agostino. That is my man Cooper Smith. And today we're going to talk Guardians baseball. And we're almost there, Coop. 48 hours or so away from first pitch, opening day. Man, I'm excited. How are you feeling so far?
Super pumped. Very optimistic. Probably the most optimistic I've been since.
Yeah, man, I'm feeling the same way. But, I've also got like a little blood boiling. I got out, I went to the Cavs game and I saw a tweet from one of the Guardians beat reporters for a long time, Hall of Famer Paul Hoynes, said that this ball club was not making the playoffs. Before we start the show, can we just talk about that a little bit?
He doesn't know ball. Don't listen to him.
Yeah. I mean,
don't know ball.
For somebody that's covered the club for so long, for probably like 40 plus years, to come out and say that before the season's even starting it's just mind-boggling to me that you can even fathom to say that, right?
Yeah, it's just, what's the point in saying that? This team is obviously better from last year.
Yeah.
Probably a couple tiers better than last year. We won 88 games with John Kenzie Noel starting in right field. So it's just dumb. Dumb thing to say.
For real. I don't want to spend too much time about it. I just wanted to bring it up before the show because it really does not make any sense to me. Like you said, this team is much improved. I know, fans don't like the payroll and all that sort of stuff, but take that with a grain of salt because money doesn't buy championships. I know the Dodgers have won 2 straight, but if you look at the Mets, they didn't make the playoffs. They had the highest payroll in all baseball last year. So, good to make that point. That doesn't really matter. What matters is what you have in-house. And what we have in-house, we have a lot of guys that can play. And speaking of guys who could play, Aniel Martinez and CJ Kayfus made the final 2 roster spots for position players. And Connor Holderman, with the injury of Hunter Gaddis right now, finishes the year in the bullpen. What were your initial reactions of those 2 moves? Were you really shocked at all by them? And how do you see those 2 playing out?
I wasn't really shocked. I thought that Stuart Fairchild was going to make this team to provide a right-handed bat off the bench, and I thought CJ was going to be in AAA. But as the week went on, Tom Hamilton even sounded confident he was going to make the team, so no shock there. Happy for CJ. He provides. I think he's going to play a lot these first 2 series because we got a lot of right-handed pitching ahead of us. Angel's, but you can't take him off the roster. He's been so good this spring training. And Colton Holderman, really rough spring, but he's got a ton of upside and a lot of good stuff. And then, if he's bad when Hunter Gaddis comes back, he'll be gone. But I don't know.
Yeah, for me, the Colin Holderman move just seems like a temporary fix right now, right? Obviously, you said a guy with high upside, but we looked at it. He has 2 options left, and I think that, going to the minors in Columbus, he could really fix and change his trajectory of his career around if he so chooses. I was very shocked that Stuart Fairchild did not make the team too because of his speed, right-handed bat. We only have, 6 right-handed bats on the roster. I haven't seen if he accepted his outright to AAA. I would assume so because I don't really expect him to get a major league outfield, job anywhere else in the league. But man, like you said, you can't really take Aniel Martinez off the team the way he's been swinging the bat, and especially with CJ Kayfus too. A guy with such high upside. I was very shocked that he didn't start the year in AAA because of, the signing of Rhys Hoskins. I expected him to play more first base than right field, and we'll talk about this a little bit later when we break down the Cleveland lineup. What were your thoughts about when you saw CJ making the team? Did it immediately jump out to you that he's going to play more outfield than first base?
I don't know, because I see a scenario in both worlds. I could see him playing a lot of DH. I could see him in even Hoskins platooning. I could see the trio of Hoskins, Kayfus, and Manzardo kind of just also platooning, just jumping wherever. But yeah, you're going to be careful with DeLauder. So I think Kayfus gets a chance to play right field quite a bit. He's got a good stick too, so he's one of the guys that I'm kind of confident up there. He's had a rough spring, but he's one of the guys where he just looks cool, calm, and collected, and feels like he could get the job done at any moment.
Yeah, for sure. He is Captain Cool. And it says a lot to me last year. We saw, too, the way this team clinched the division a year ago, taking a hit by a pitch, wearing it for the win, just shows the type of character and type of team player he is, right? A guy that's willing to get the job done, put his, really his body on the line to win games. And I think that is a main reason why he, made the club. out of spring training, even with a rough spring.
Yeah, remember his diving catch when Williams was in a no-hitter?
Yeah, yeah, against the Mets, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I
that was
mean,
awesome.
yeah, he's shown, the ability to, being a winning ball player.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I want to shift over and talk about the Mariners, and we're going to start previewing this series. Obviously, Thursday, 10-10 first pitch, Logan Gilbert versus Tanner Bybee. Opening day, first game of the year for the Cleveland Guardians, and we're going to break down this, Mariners lineup by just overall. A lot of new faces for this team, throughout the years, right? Obviously, acquiring Josh Naylor, our old friend of ours at the deadline from Arizona. Departing was Eugenio Suarez. He went to the Reds. But Dominic Canzone, Leo Vargas, Brendan Donovan's here. Who are some guys that you think could play an impact? We both picked them to win the World Series in our predictions. We are both very high on this team. Who are guys that you would want to watch out for, as a Cleveland fan, guys to worry about in this series?
Probably the entire lineup. The entire lineup kind of scares me from top to bottom. Obviously Julio, and then the guy who hit 60 home runs last year, Cal Raleigh, and then even Josh Naylor. Maybe he wants to get a little bit of revenge on his former ball club. You got to be careful with him, and apparently you got to be careful with him on the base paths too. A lethal stolen base guy.
30 stolen bases a year ago. And I mean, we got to be careful with these guys, but I also want to talk about, Julio Rodriguez, obviously a guy that is known to be a second half merchant, just catch on fire. And he always starts off so slow, but eventually in the game of baseball, that will catch up to you, right? You're going to have a full season where you're going to have your best production. Will that be this year? And obviously Cleveland's going to have to be careful pitching to him and to Cal Raleigh, who had a really bad WBC. But this, like you said, this team's very deep. Even though with the departures of Jorge Polanco and Eugenio Suarez, I still see this as one of the best lineups in all of baseball.
Yeah, and on top of that, they got probably one of the best rotations in the game too.
Yeah, and let's touch a little bit on that about that. Obviously, Logan Gilbert's going on opening day. Their ace, their guy, Brian Wu, another guy that has been very dominant in this league, back-to-back seasons where he's had under a 3 ERA. Very dependable guy. They also have Luis Castillo, who's been around this league in his 30s, former ace for the Reds. Elite stuff, good sinker ball, gets good ground ball rates. George Kirby, we know what he can do when he's healthy, and when he's on his stuff, he can be elite. And then finally, Emerson Hancock is the only guy that I am not very high on this rotation, but this Mariners, organization is very high on him. They expect a big year from him, a breakout year. And obviously, what you said, this could be potentially one of the best rotations in all of baseball.
Yeah, we don't see Hancock, do we? We just see the other four?
No, we just see the other four. And I just want to mention this too. Right now, MLB only has Logan Gilbert as the projected starter for this series so far, our opening day. But we're going off of Fangraphs and breaking it down, which will probably be the expected starters.
Cool.
Yeah. So let's break it down. Do you want to go over the probable pitchers for opening day?
I mean, yeah, Tanner Bybee and Logan Gilbert, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for Cleveland, I mean, Logan Gilbert, you have to jump on him early because he doesn't walk a lot of guys. His fastball plays a lot harder than it actually seems. He throws mid-90s, but it's going to play about 100 because he's in the 100 percentile in extension. Cleveland people love. And then he also mixes his slider and split really well off that heater. So it's going to be a tough day. You just got to jump on him and be aggressive.
Yeah, and especially if, offensively, a team last year, 29th in OPS, not a lot of slug in this lineup. To get on base early against a guy like Logan Gilbert, like you said, and to, hit runners in scoring position, get him over and get him in. Clutch hitting is going to be a factor in this, right? This is a team that loves to play small ball, bump the runner, get him over to get sack flies. That's going to have to be a big thing. And also against a guy like Logan Gilbert, too. We're going to talk about Tanner Bybee in a bit, but, Cleveland's got to play their best defense behind Tanner Bybee. And why don't you break down Tanner Bybee real quick, your thoughts, and what should we expect to see him on Thursday?
Yeah, rough spring. Hopefully that doesn't transition over to the regular season. He's just got to be aggressive, not too aggressive that he's leaving everything over the heart of the plate like he has been, but he also can't. He had a case of the nibbles last year. Just can't be doing that. Just got to stay aggressive, pitch corner to corner. I think he's going to have a pretty solid outing.
Yeah, and off script here, obviously you were a pitcher in college. case of the nibbles, is that more of a mental, approach of like going after a hitter than like obviously, physical, like, you can have the greatest command of all time, but you can't hit that spot 9 out of 10 times. Is nibbling more of a mental side of I don't want to give up the extra base hit. I don't want to give up the home run. I don't want to cost my team this game.
Yeah, I think it's about 99% mental. You got, like, if you have it in your head that, man, I can't walk this guy. Man, the time runs in the scoring position. I can't give up a hit here. You lose your game plan. You're not as aggressive, and you just, again, nibble, walk, and then you kind of float something over the heart of the plate, and that's when they kill you. You just got to stay sharp mentality. Like, I'm better than these guys, and they can't hit my stuff. You just got to have a lot of confidence up there.
Yeah, for sure. And it seems like, Tanner is the ultimate competitor, right? He obviously struggled in spring, like you said. But for me, at this point of his career, we've seen a little bit of regression stats wise for him, right? But to have a level up type season, he's going to have to pitch like he did in September, right? Fearless competitor, not afraid of, giving up home runs. He gave up 27 last year, 13th in the league in all of baseball, home runs given up. He's going to have to, pitch fearless. He's going to have to, not be tight, attack the zone. Obviously, he might be a little bit over the plate too much. He didn't walk a single batter in spring training, which is great and all that, but he also got hit really hard, right? So we're going to have to see a good little mixture of him to see what...
Yeah, you got to find the middle ground.
Yeah, the middle ground. Like, it's great. You could throw a bunch of strikes and all that, but as a hitter, you can also sit on that. You can expect what's coming. You can say, okay, this changeup at, 2-2 is going to be low and away, right? You could sit on that. That's why I think is his problem right now. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't know, man. He's got to dig deep and find that 2023 form and the end of last year. But I have the most confidence in him. He's a competitor. He's very smart. He knows the game of baseball. So he might start out slow this year, in my opinion, but I think towards the end we're going to see the Tanner Bibee of late last year.
For sure. And one thing before I move on to our next little segment that we have here for you guys, it's a two-part question because I'm going to say the same thing for the Mariners too. This is a little off script. Do you think that Gavin Williams should have been the opening day starter over Tanner Bibee based on the spring training statistics, outings, all that, the way they ended last year? Or do you think that, Tanner Bibee should have been the opening day starter?
Well, if we're going off of spring, I think Slade Ciccone should have been the opening day starter. But no, I think Tanner Bibee deserves it. I just thought it was going to be Williams just based off what he did last year. But you have to remember that Bibee was also, he had a 1.90 ERA in September, and then he pitched really well in the postseason. So he deserves it, and especially after coming off that unfortunate sickness that would have had him start last year on opening day. I think it's the right move.
For sure. I don't disagree. I would have personally picked Gavin Williams because I think Gavin Williams is going to be special this year. Obviously, the way he ended last year, the adjustments he's made, and he's continued to get better, right? We're going to break him down for when we go over game 2. But man, he can, eventually get Cy Young Award votes in this league, and I could, see it being this year the way that he has pitched in the past. So not very skeptical about Tanner Bibee being the opening day starter. Obviously, he had that huge extension at the beginning of last year. He deserves it, right? Like you said, been in this organization for so long, pitched in big games, obviously pitched in a big game last year and really performed, got the only postseason win last year. So I think he deserves it, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if all goes well and they pitch like they did at the end of last year, I think we could see 2 pitchers in maybe not the full Cy Young race, but get some consideration.
Yeah, for sure, man. And especially, for Tanner Bibee, a guy that has shown in the past, in 24, he had that spectacular season. He's shown us what he can do, right? And even in his rookie season, be a really effective starting pitcher in this league. It's only a matter of time until he gets back to that. I know the regression might be, slightly, maybe unlucky. I don't think he's terrible in a sense, but I think majority of his, outings last year were unlucky and, also nibbling, like you said, walking a lot of batters and then leaving pitches over the heart of the plate, right? All that mixes into, what he had last year. But I think he's a better pitcher than what he has shown in the past.
Yeah, I think his expected ERA last year was a lot better than his actual ERA.
Mm-hmm. For sure, for sure. Moving on, I want to touch on this real quick. The next question that is pretty similar to the one I asked, but this is Mariners based. Do you think Brian Wu should have been the opening day starter for the Mariners? He had a really good season last year for them, picked up Cy Young Award votes, but we touched on it before. Logan Gilbert's also a really dang good pitcher for the Mariners. Who would you pick personally if Cooper Smith was the manager of the Seattle Mariners? Who would you pick to be your opening day starter?
I think I'd probably just flip a coin. I don't think you could go wrong with Gilbert or Wu or even Castillo and Kirby. I think you could throw either one of them out there. They could be an ace on a lot of different teams. Everybody in this rotation.
That'd be a good game to play, dude. And like a later show, like next offseason, like picking like, the best rotations in all of baseball. Who's, number twos can be aces in all of baseball. But yeah, no, I don't disagree. I personally pick Brian Wu because of how good he was down the stretch. And then I know he had that injury going into the postseason. He gave up that big home run in the postseason as well before Bizardo's home run that he gave up to Springer. But man, he is just such an effective pitcher. Pitched to a 2.94 last year, 181 innings pitched. He's becoming one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. And I think Logan Gilbert is, he could be that. But I think Brian Wu is, if you're talking about like, I don't know, up to towards Tarek Skubal territory or Garrett Crochet, like for Cy Young Award votes, I think that Brian Wu is closer to that than Logan Gilbert.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of advanced stat nerds out there, and I'm kind of one, but if you look at the Savant pages, Gilbert's is just a lot more red, I believe, than Wu. So, I mean, he's got the underlying stuff.
It's a good argument, and I want everybody to know, if you're watching this video, drop a comment below who you think those two starters should be for Cleveland and for Seattle. You think should be the opening day starter for these games. But moving on, man, let's talk about game 2. Gavin Williams is on the bump, taking the pill for Cleveland against, the projected starter that we have, Brian Wu. What do you expect from Gavin, and what should, his attacking game plan be against this great Mariners lineup?
Yeah, I think he's just got to, stay consistent, stay in the zone. He had the most walks last year in the league. Again, don't nibble, just attack. Everything plays off that sinker or fastball. That sweeper has gotten a lot better. Utilize that a lot. Just keep hitters off balance, and I think he's going to do a good job.
Yeah, for sure. And he's been working on a bunch of stuff. Obviously, his command has been a big thing throughout his time in the big leagues, right? Walking a lot of guys, like you said. But also, keeping the ball on the ground and not through the air. A lot of these guys on this team give up hard hit balls and all that sort of stuff. A lot of pitch to contact guys. Not a lot of guys in this rotation are going to have 200 plus strikeouts, but he might be the one, right? By adding that sinker, by, utilizing that cutter, curveball, changeup that he has, we can expect a big year from him, right? And in this game, specifically against this lineup, we need him to be sharp, right? We need him to attack the zone. We need him to, get weak contact, go in on these hitters, right? Especially on a guy like Cal Raleigh, who struggled in the WBC getting pitched inside. The only one I wouldn't go inside against in this lineup is Brendan Donovan because of his contact ability. But really, any other of these guys just really don't make mistakes because Julio Rodriguez is going to capitalize on those, right? Mitch Garver, he's awful, but he just seems to kill us in general. So that's another guy that, you don't want to give up mistakes to. But as long as he, one, just keeps the ball in the ballpark, attacks the strike zone, and just overall don't make mistakes over the heart of the plate, I see Gavin Williams having, a 6 2/3, 6 1/3 out.
That's the goal. Easier said than done, right? But I have so much confidence that he's going to carry over what he did last year.
For sure. And he's got that confidence right now, coming off of the season he had last year. Obviously going toe-to-toe with Tarek Skubal in the American League Wildcard Series in Game 1. Both pitchers didn't have any run support, but he showed the ability to be an ace in this league. And it's only a matter of time until he becomes the ace of this team, right? So we can only hope and dream that, he could take that level up now, but it's only going to progress from here.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm going to touch on Brian Wu because we touched on him, or I touched on him a little bit when we talked about, who should be the opening day starter for the Seattle Mariners. But another guy that is super effective, but also gets hit pretty hard compared to the other guys in this rotation. 43 of the time he's getting hit hard. That doesn't sound like a lot, but compared to what Logan Gilbert's 22 percentile, that's a significant jump. But man, he's another guy that has some good stuff, some good command, can be dominant when he's on, right? But like we're going to continue to say this throughout our time doing these and covering these games. This Cleveland team is, what was the record last year when they jumped out in front? When they score first, they're what, like 24-6 every year when they do that?
Game's over.
Yeah, so the goal is for Cleveland is to score first, obviously. Easier said than done, right? But especially against guys like Logan Gilbert and Brian Wu, that has to happen because you got to play your B-plus game to beat the Mariners with the lineup that they have and the pitching that they have right now with Wu and Gilbert. You got to jump out early and you got to take advantage of the opportunities that you get.
Yeah, and the good thing about this team, going a little bit off of what you said, but good thing about this team is if the pitching is not perfect like it had to be last year, I have confidence finally in this offense to start, keeping up with teams.
Yeah, for sure. And this is kind of the year where when you look at this lineup that we have right now, there's obviously more pop, right? But there's also more major league type hitters. We really haven't had that since 2018. Guys that can, grind out major league at bats, guys that can, hit situational hitting, which has not been done here for a long time. I do feel confident about that, especially against guys like this. Get them over to get them in. When a guy's on second base, you hit a ground ball to second and you move him over to the third and then you get him in, right? It's the little things like that that can beat the teams like the Mariners, who are third highest favorites in the American League to win the pennant. It's obviously the little things have to be done offensively. And like you said, I have a lot of confidence, and we're going to touch on that in a little bit after we get done with the Game 3 starters. And that is with Slade Cecconi, who you said has pitched his best ball this spring. So let's touch on that. What do you think Slade Cecconi has to do to beat this Mariners ball club?
Just keep doing what he's been doing in the spring, which is attacking, utilizing that new cutter, which seems to be keeping hitters off balance, and makes your fastball look better too. But yeah, he's gonna go deep into some ball games as he showed last year. He just has to keep the ball in the ballpark, keep the ball either up above their hands or keep it down. Because if he leaves it down, he leaves a lot of balls down the middle sometimes, and they get hit hard. I feel like he got a little lucky last year, but I think what I've seen so far in spring, that's changed a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think he did get lucky, but do you think he got Andrew Abbott lucky?
Maybe.
Luckiest
I don't know.
pitcher in the league lucky?
He got hit really, really hard.
Yeah, but most of that, like you said, like working on his cutter, but also hitters were sitting on that fastball, right? Because all the other stuff was not playing as highly as he thought he would. He even said that coming into spring training, and I thought that all along because watching him, the curveball looks great, right? But all of his other stuff is, not really effective compared to, his curveball. So you're really sitting as a hitter, you're sitting on those two pitches, his fastball and his 12-6, and he's just really showing the other ones for show at that point. So that's why he was getting hit so hard, and he even said that, why he added the cutter. And, with those three pitches working right now, he's been more effective than ever. Obviously, it's spring training, take it with a grain of salt. But like you said, if he continues to pitch how he's pitching, I don't see him really slowing down, even especially against a lineup like he's going to see.
Yeah, I mean, just adding that cutter, it may not seem like a lot, but your fastball plays so much better off of that, and you could throw it even more, because hitters have to be like, okay, well, now he's got a cutter, I got to be mindful of that. So, I mean, yeah, it's going to help out his fastball, going to keep hitters even more off balance. He's probably going to blow some guys away. Even more now, but I'm excited for Slade.
Yeah, for sure. Me too. If he could take that next step up, it's just going to help this rotation so much. We saw at the end of last year what this club can do with elite starting pitching, and if he could take that, step up, because he really didn't compare to the other guys. He didn't really pitch as well compared to those other guys, but if he can step up, be huge. But I want to talk about Luis Castillo. He's been in the league for so long. Obviously, been a pain in our side for as long as I can remember him being in the league with the Reds and then trading over to the Mariners. Guy with a nasty sinker, but he can get wild at times. What do you think Cleveland has to do to jump on him? And what do you think Cleveland has to do to get him uncomfortable?
Yeah, that sinker is fantastic, but also that changeup is still filthy. And Cleveland, historically, the last couple of years has not been a very good changeup hitting team. So everything's going to tunnel off of that sinker and changeup. If you can't figure out that changeup, and you can't lay off of it down the zone, or you can't take advantage of a changeup hung in the zone, it's going to be a long day.
Yeah, for sure. And well, like you said, these hitters the past couple of years have been struggling with the changeup, and they've been struggling to keep their hands back, and that's easier said than done. A lot of it is because they're so young. We've had the youngest, hitters and players in the league for God knows how long, since 22.
50 years.
Yeah, and that's a result of that, right? They're so jumpy. They want to cheat to the fastball. They want to make sure that they're on time for the heater, and they forget about everything else, right? If you can only get 1 out of the 5 done, that's why, you could see the struggles. The 670 team OPS last year, not a lot of slug, because they're trying to cheat to one pitch, and they're, basically giving themselves up.
I agree with that.
And, for Castillo, too, and the way he's pitched, last postseason wasn't very impressive. He showed a lot of flaws, and a lot of the flaws that we said was the command. And if Cleveland could be more patient, especially with the hitters like DeLauder, who seems like he has, limited his chase rate, hopefully Martinez could, not go out of the zone. Like you said, he has struggled with his chase ability. That was the only flaw really we saw this spring. If Cleveland could draw more walks against him and just, play small ball like they do, they can easily win this game if they play good defense behind Slade Cecconi as well. Obviously, Cleveland had 99 errors a year ago, which was 4th in the League of Baseball. A lot of that has to do, the losses that had to do with that is because of the errors behind them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the funny thing is, we're going to be more patient because we got rid of freaking John Kenzie Noel and Jonathan Rodriguez.
Mm-hmm.
So we won't see those wailing swings anymore. But no, with the additions of DeLauder and then Kefis, guys who are pretty patient at the plate. Rhys Hoskins, I think, is pretty patient at the plate. I don't know if he's going to start tomorrow or against Castillo, but I think we got better as a team walks-wise.
Yeah, for sure. And Kefis, to me, we've seen the patience and all that, the ability to work the count. What's going to hurt, though, with this team is the absence of George Valera, because we saw at the end of last year his ability to work the count and the ability of, being that guy that could protect Steven Kwan and to work more counts so Jose Ramirez sees more pitches on deck. We saw how better he hit after, George Valera came in the lineup towards the end of the year. But Kefis, I don't see this happening, but maybe if they want that same result, they move Kefis to the 2-hole or something like that, so Jose could see more pitches on deck and have a better approach going up against these, pitchers, these great starters for Seattle.
I think if anything, they'll probably put DeLauder in the 2-hole. I'm not sure. Do you think it'll be DeLauder or Martinez in the 2-hole?
I think to start, it's going to be Martinez because of the experience that he's had. Obviously, he hit in the 2-hole a little bit last year and the year prior to that. But DeLauder, I think they're more worried about him getting at-bats and staying healthy right now before, giving him more total workload.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know, that lineup of Kwan, Martinez, Ramirez, Hoskins, Gerardo, DeLauder gets me really excited.
Yeah, dude. And the youth movement is finally here, right? We've talked about these guys for how long, right? To finally see them here and to finally see results kind of, ups the front office and say, hey, the fans might be right on this one, right?
Yeah, I know.
Just quite honest. It's awesome to see. And I'm happy to see how these guys do going through the year. But just want to touch on, the next game. Parker Messick, great spring. Obviously, added the cutter, been tinkering with the stuff like all these guys. I said in the last episode, Stephen Vogt's been very high on him, saying that, he's been pitching in the backfields in Goodyear, Arizona without Carl Willis, just working on his stuff, working on his command, just trying to get better. Great mindset overall, great kid. What do you expect from him against the stacked lineup? Obviously, they have Rob Refsnyder, who mashes left-handed pitching. They signed him and picked him up in free agency. This Mariners team, up and down 1 through 9, can hit left-handed pitching, but a guy like Parker Messick, could he throw this Mariners team off to give Cleveland a chance to win this game?
Is it Messick or is it going to be Cantillo?
Right now they have we'll do both. How about that?
Well, okay, yeah. I mean, they're both lefties, so I mean, they both got to establish that fastball inside on the righties, and they both got to play the changeup off of that. If they can do that, locate, especially if it's Cantillo, he's got to throw more pitches in the zone. I think they're going to have a pretty solid day.
Yeah, and if it's Joey, obviously utilize that changeup. Keep those hitters off balance. That's obviously his best pitch that he could throw with 2 strikes. But really get ahead of the count. Use your fastball. Get that in the zone. Pound it in the bottom. He's got the stuff to play, right? He's got that stuff to – I see you're smart. He's got that stuff to play to be a great major league pitcher. And guys like him can succeed against lineups like these because of the effectiveness of his one pitch, his changeup, which creates a lot of swings and misses. For Parker, it's kind of the difference. He's always in the zone, but to me, for Parker Messick, it's just to not be in the heart of the plate and to not nibble. He's got to limit the walks. He doesn't, really give up too hard hit of contact or, hard hit contact, but a guy that has shown that, he's can pitch against the best of them, best lineups in the big leagues. So in his short time here. So I'm very confident in both of them, whoever it will be. But still, this Mariners lineup is so good that they could put, hang a 4 spot on those guys.
Yeah, one thing I really like about Messick is, dude, he's a competitor. He's a fiery pitcher, and that's something I love.
Yeah, dude, I love that too from a starter because one, everybody on the field, all 11 of those guys, they build off that energy, right? Your starting pitcher is the quarterback of the team, right? So you build off what they provide, and if they're coming out flat, you'll feel flat. You'll see everybody flat. Everybody will be flat-footed. They'll be down in energy, and that's never a key to success in this game.
No, body language is a big thing. The bad body language, team sees you've given up, other team sees that, feeds off of it, and I mean your day on the mound is just going to get a lot worse.
For sure. And especially if you don't have your best stuff, right? You're not going to have your best stuff. Pitchers make 30-something starts a year. You're not going to have your best stuff all 30 starts. You're probably going to have your best stuff like 18 out of the 30 starts. You're just going to have to battle and compete to make, the best possible outcome you could possibly have. And Parker Messick gives me those vibes. Parker Messick is just, a guy that's going to go out there and battle his tail off no matter what the outcome is. We saw it against the Tampa Bay where it was like 90 degrees outside and he went, almost 7 innings in a must-win game at that point of the year last year when we were coming back down for 15 and a half. He's shown the ability to pitch in the big game. He's shown the ability to compete at the highest level. Let's just see, can he do it for a full season?
Yeah, that's a big question. I think he could. I don't see why he couldn't. His stuff is good. His command is really impressive.
Yeah, for sure. I do want to talk about this. We got a couple things left before we close up the show. We got to talk about George Kirby, who is projected to start this game from us. Obviously, Mariners haven't named a projected starter yet for Game 4. But George Kirby's shown, he's so talented. Great stuff all across the board. And in 2024 showed that he was one of the best starting pitchers in all of baseball. That rotation in that year was just so dominant in a pitcher's park like T-Mobile, where he just continues to thrive. And he didn't have a great year last year, but he showed signs in the postseason that he was kind of making his mark back to where he was in 2024. Cleveland, my thoughts are against him. A guy with good command and good stuff is, you're just kind of have to wish. If he's on his A game, you're going to have to, try to find a barrel. I know that's going to sound stupid, but against a guy that, if he's on his stuff like that, he's one of the best pitchers in this rotation that's already deep if he's on his stuff.
Yeah, he works fast on the mound, so you got to stay ready and be aggressive early because he doesn't walk many guys.
For sure. And that's another problem, too, because Cleveland will probably most likely this year thrive off of, walks, getting base runners aboard early in the innings and all that sort of stuff because there's not a lot of slug on this team We're going to have to play a lot of small ball, get the runners, get them in. Like, we're going to say a lot this year. But against a guy like George Kirby, who's always in the strike zone, you're going to have to put your A swing on every single fastball, every single, off-speed pitch that is hung in the zone. You're going to have to find a way, to catch a barrel. And really, extra base hits is going to be a big thing. Who's going to be the guy that could, deliver the big blow against George Kirby? Will it be Kyle Manzaro? Will it be Chase DeLauter in his first big league, series? Somebody's going to have to, come through with a big hit to start a rally against him, because it's hard to get one against a guy that doesn't walk a lot of guys and doesn't really get hit hard.
Yeah, could it be Jose Ramirez finally with protection?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we saw it yesterday. I know it was an expedition game, but DeLauter went yard, and the next pitch, he saw a first pitch fastball. A lot of times for Jose, he's taking in that scenario, right? But he finally has the confidence, and one, he also has, in the state of mind, like, hey, I have guys behind me that can do this with Hoskins and Manzardo, and DeLauter was in front of him who just homered the pitch before. It seems like he's more comfortable where he is right now compared to previous years. And that's where I want to bridge over. Is this the best offense coming into a season since 2018 for Cleveland?
I think so. I don't know. Because 2023 was kind of hype, the start of it, with Josh Bell. I'm going to say yes, because there's so much depth now that you can just pull from the minor leagues if someone's struggling. You got a number 1 overall pick coming up soon. But dude, I think this is probably the best offense going into a season that we've had in a long time.
Yeah, I think this might be the most depth that we've had since. I'm not gonna. That 2017 team is just historic, but 2018, I could consider it even, with the addition when they got Josh Donaldson from the waiver wire and all that. It's still a stacked lineup, but overall, man, this lineup to me, there's just big thumpers and guys that can get the job done 1 through 9. Obviously, there's still, holes. I think that both middle infielders' bats are not very, great. Some guys
Question
that,
marks, yeah.
yeah, question marks. I mean, Arias 613 OPS a year ago. Arias, or not, sorry, Rocchio, the other one, guy playing second base. Another guy that has, shown the ability to hit in this league, but has also shown you the ability to be god awful and be one of the most hated players on this ball club. So a lot of question marks on this team, but a lot of talent as well.
Yeah, I think we've seen the worst of Rocchio. I think how he finished last year is going to be how he plays for the majority of his career, which is kind of crazy to say, but I just see a good ball player in there.
I see a utility guy, man. I think he's.
Do you?
I don't think he's an everyday shortstop guy for long term. I honestly think that's Ganal, but that's just me because I liked what I saw of Ganal this year. But Rocchio, to me, I feel like he's going to become like an Abraham Toro. Like, he just gives me Abraham Toro vibes, dude.
I hope you're wrong.
Yeah, I hope I am too. But I do have a couple things I want to touch on. Last year, they were 30th in offensive production. You think we'll get better than that?
You can't get any worse.
Yeah. Only better than the Pittsburgh Pirates. 29th in OPS, only better than the Pittsburgh Pirates. And then 20th in home runs, 168. A year prior to that, Cleveland was 12th in home runs. I don't understand the drop off. Maybe it's because of, did they add what's his name? God, who had the big home run? Lane Thomas's home runs coming over. Do they add those after trades? I don't even know.
I don't know. I wouldn't imagine, no.
Yeah. Well, so I obviously they're going to have to get better in the power category, but I do want to touch on that. Kwan, working on his bat speed. We talked about this before the show. You were a little bit concerned, and you want to talk about his overall production, what he has to do, what he needs to change. He's been working on his bat speed, like I said earlier. Hopefully that produces power, because the year he did that, he worked specifically on bat speed. He had 14 home runs in 24. Your overall, initial reactions on Stephen Kwan, what do you think?
Yeah, bat speed is great and all, which I'm glad he's working on it. I mean, he's slugging the ball more, but his average took a hit. I mean, last year had a 99 OPS plus, which is 1% lower than league average. I don't want him to start selling out for home runs or doubles. I just want him to be the guy, like 120 OPS plus guy that got on base and set the table for the next guy.
Yeah, I don't disagree. My thing with these bat speed metrics, I think it's important, right? To have, obviously bat speed does create power and helps you hit the ball harder, but is he sacrificing, his contact ability for power, right? That's the big question. And if he is doing that, he could take a significant hit in his offensive value. Like you said, 1% lower than league average. We're going to need better from that for a guy that, was an all-star outfielder a year ago, four-time Gold Glove Award winner. He's one of the mainstays on this team, right? And especially if we're going to trade him at some point, which I don't want to keep bringing that up. Clock's ticking, right? We need his value to go up if we can't reach an extension.
I mean, if his value goes down, we could probably extend him. And hope he gets back to what he was. But no, I'm not really worried about Kwan. I don't know. I just want him to return to 2022 and 24 Steven Kwan.
For sure. And that would be a huge boost to this lineup. One of the best leadoff hitters in all of baseball. Gets on base. Great contact ability, right? But we need consistency. And that's what this team's lacked offensively for a long time. Just going through this lineup a little bit. Daniel Martinez right now is slotted at the 2-hole in the Fangraphs projected lineup. Do you like him there, or do you like Chase DeLauter at the 2-hole?
I don't know. I like DeLauter lower because he can drive in more runs and protect Jose. I think Angel has earned himself that 2-hole just based on what he done in the spring. Yeah, I don't mind it. What about you?
I kind of like it, especially because one balances out the lineup with the switch hitter, especially in front of Jose too. If Angel Martinez could continue what he did in spring training, hit for power, which I thought was crazy. Dude was going on a surge towards the end there. He had 2 home runs in the final 2 games for him. If he continued to do that, be a doubles guy, obviously if Kwan's getting on base, get more RBIs. But yeah, I agree too. I think Chase Slaughter being lower in the lineup, and right now they're slotting him behind Rhys Hoskins. I think that's great for him. He's going to have more RBI opportunities, especially with Jose. Possibly if Manzardo doesn't strike out every at-bat like he did in the beginning of spring training. That'd be a great fit for him too. But yeah, he'll be okay. I'm not really worried about Kyle Manzardo. But any other guys you want to keep an eye out on this roster lineup?
For the series or just in general?
Oh, for the series and really in general too.
Well, for the series, I think one of my guys is Steven Kwan, because if we're gonna score runs and beat the Mariners, he's gonna have to get on base and set the table for the other guys. No more lazy flies in the left.
Let's stop
let's get
that.
On for, let's get on for Jose and DeLauter and Hoskins.
Yeah. For sure, yeah. Kwan's going to be a guy that we're going to have to watch out for sure, for many reasons, right? Is there any other,
I'm curious to see if Bo Naylor's adjustments carry over, and if he can be a big thump in the bottom of the order.
Yeah. Yeah, Bo Naylor to me does intrigue me. We talked about him many times. The switch from the leg kick to the toe tap, which a lot of catchers have been doing, especially Austin Wells, that have been having success. They have him batting 8th, and I think that's great for the lineup. One, to turn it over, and what if we have a catcher that hits over 15 home runs and he's batting 8th? The man can only dream, right? So it's just a great spot to be in Cleveland. But especially if Gabriel Arias, who's batting in front of him, they have him batting 7th. If he's a free out and we have Bo Naylor up there, and we know Rhys Hoskins, Manzardo, Ramirez, those guys are going to get on base a lot. They're going to be our main thumpers. They're going to be the mainstays. They're going to be the ones getting those runs in, right? If Bo Naylor can be that guy and we can finally get production out of this offensive group, this ball club is going to just soar.
I'm so optimistic. Maybe a little too optimistic that my hopes are going to be shot dead. But if everything goes right, I don't know why this team can't win 90.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And like you said, everything has to go right, right? That's the one thing that stands in the way, health and obviously, performance. One of those things you could control, the other one you can't. Last year, they didn't control either of them and somehow won, 89 games, came back down 15.5. Just overall, insane trajectory last year. But they seem better than me, even though they didn't do anything in the offseason. Little to none. But let's make our predictions real quick before we wrap it up here. What do you think's going to happen in this series?
Let me think a little bit. You go first.
Yeah. I think a split is most likely going to happen, especially with the pitching matchups. I think Cleveland's going to lose game one. I think Logan Gilbert's just going to be too much to start the season. Such a great pitcher. We've seen it, for so not for so long, but we've seen it in this league, him being a dominant ace, dominant starter. I just think he's going to be too much for this lineup to handle for opening day. And then I have Cleveland winning the final game of the series against George Kirby. I think that Cleveland will jump on him early. He's going to be tough to hit against. Obviously, like we said, he doesn't walk a lot of guys. He doesn't really give up a lot of hard hit contact. But it feels like for me that these getaway games leans in our favor for some reason. So I'm going to take a split.
Okay. I'm going to say we win the series 3-1. I don't know the games. I think we win opening day, and then after that, I'm not sure. And Chase DeLauder hits his first major league home run.
Okay. Yeah. I think I definitely could see Chase DeLauder hitting, especially after the game he had a day ago against Arizona. I'm going to throw one out there for you. I think that Aniel Martinez is going to have a triple in the series.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my major bull prediction. And yeah, I don't know why. I was just like, for the predictions, I just want to be a little, unique with it.
Just a triple. That's our highlight of the series.
Yeah. No. Well, obviously, DeLauder was my pick, but you kind of stole that. So it's just like, I just want to see like something different.
Okay, I can come up with another one. What do you think?
Hit me.
I think who is Slade's going up against?
Slade's going Luis Castillo. Yeah.
I think Slade Ciccone throws 7 innings of 1-run ball.
I could see that for sure. Yeah. No, I like that a lot. Let me think. Let me just take a look here. This one. All right. Because it's April Arias becomes Jesus Christ. I think Gabriel Arias is going to have 2 home runs this series.
Gabriel Arias?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Then Bazana is never ever coming up.
Yeah, I know. Well, just kind of throwing it out there because you took my main point away, man. I wanted the DeLauder, the home run, his first home run.
We both think it, so it's gonna happen.
Yeah, for sure. We got the gut feeling, right? So yeah.
Is there any other? I think Rhys Hoskins does anything.
Rhys Hoskins, 3 RBIs this series, something like that. 2 RBIs. Is that realistic?
Yeah, off the bench maybe.
Off the bench?
I don't know how much he's gonna start.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what they do with him because dude had a great spring, had over 900 OPS, and he struggled out of the gate. People were bitching about it, but he's really came on.
Yeah, no, dude, he has a chance to be just a fantastic addition.
For sure. Milwaukee loved him for the 2 years that they had him. He was hurt majority of last year, but we talked about it in his signing video how good he can be when he plays a full season and what he can contribute to this ball club that desperately needs offense. So he could honestly be one of the most underrated signings this free agent class.
Yeah, I mean, we're not asking him to start 162 games. I mean, he's probably going to split time with Kefis and Manzardo and he's going to have a different role that he did in Philly and Milwaukee, and I think he's going to excel on that.
Yeah. He might start off as the platoon role, maybe against left-handed pitching, but he was facing a lot of right-handed pitching in spring training. Obviously, that's not really controllable for the manager because they're just trying to get guys' workloads in and whatever, and so on and so forth. But if he could become a dude like he was in the past, and he was a couple years removed from a 30 home run season with the Phillies, it's kind of what Josh Naylor was really supposed to be, right? Didn't really have a great end of his tenure with Cleveland, home runs wise. Obviously, he was very productive, but man, he from 23, he had 30 home runs, ended up with 24, I think, his last year. If he could become what Josh Naylor was supposed to be and continue to be that 30 home run type of hitter, this club's going to soar in a division which is going to be very competitive with the Tigers and Royals, but very easily wide open for this ball club if they can figure it out offensively.
Yeah, we're going to see a lot more home runs. Kyle Manzardo 30, Chase hopefully 20 plus, Reese 20 plus, Jose 30 to 40.
Yeah, and I want to add George Valera 15 home runs when he's healthy. I think that's a lock.
If he gets healthy.
Yeah.
He would have played so much this series because we're only playing righties.
Yeah, and he mashes right-handed pitching. So it would have been perfect. He would have batted like 700 with like 2 home runs.
6 bombs.
Yeah, 6 bombs. Yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm excited that to see all these guys, finally go out and play real baseball, and we can finally talk real baseball.
Yeah.
Being able
The
to,
wait's over.
wa- yeah, being able to actually watch the games and not having to go on MLB.com because every spring training game is not televised. It's just fine. It's great. It's gonna be awesome. But yeah,
I'm so excited.
yeah. You got anything else before we wrap it up?
Go Guards. Let's
Go
go.
Guards,
Let's
man.
do this thing.
Well, from Andrew D'Agostino, that is my co-host Cooper Smith. We appreciate you for joining in as always, and we'll see you next time on Bridge to October. Peace. Go Guards.